Hey gamers, welcome back to a different kind of DSP video. I'm going to talk about this little interview DSP had with Wings. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a full react video on this, but I am going to talk about my thoughts on this interview as they right now. It's exactly what I was expecting from this interview. It was just a giant vanity project for DSP. This was just another interview for DSP to brag about how it's a positive interview and it was so meaningful because he was helping Wings out. Because this was coming from a place of insincerity. He viewed Wings as a desperate person, like in other ways. I'm not saying that he outright said he was desperate or this or that, but though you listen to how DSP talks about Wings' streams and his content, you kind of understand that he sees that Wings is below him, that he's on down, he's on like in the gutter right now, and he needs all the help that he can to make a name for himself, to pick himself back up after leaving Lolcow, which is like really disingenuous to even insinuate that Wings has no clout, if you want to call it that, on his own. Like, sure, he's not bringing like tens of thousands of views, but how many views was he pulling in before Lolcow versus after? Was there a huge giant decrease, or is it just about the same? I don't know. I feel it's about the same. I don't think there was a massive decrease in attention that Wings has been getting. I feel it's been the same kind of attention he's been getting. And yet, DSP sees that he's doing done, so he's doing him a favor during this interview. So he goes on this interview, and what does DSP do? He starts to question his streams. He brings up that he's playing Battlefield, he's playing these modern games, and he does this in a way that he compares it to himself. Like he has shifted from doing Street Fighter into doing Pokemon ZA, doing these chill streams that's interacting because nobody wants to see them compete. Now this is completely kind of disingenuous because he's obviously, in my opinion, operating off of the clip of not DSP of Wings saying he doesn't like Call of Duty and he hates streaming it. But the reason why Wings hates streaming is because of the that not the association, but just the amount of trolling he gets for playing these multiplayer games. That kind of made it unfun. It has nothing to do with the competitive nature of Call of Duty or anything like that. And this is just in general of just streaming. But at the same time, like I do feel that there is a degree that people may dislike streaming some things in some cases or whatever, and they just kind of bite the bullet and they do it anyway because they understand. Well, this is what people want, and people enjoy this. This and there's always a grain of nuance with all these kind of decisions that people can make. But yeah, you have Wing still play other games in his content, whatever. Like this dislike of streaming this is kind of like, you know, not exactly. Oh, I just don't like playing this game. It's a little bit more than that. And it's kind of unfair to necessarily tell him, oh well, you should just stop playing that and you should do games that make you interact with chat. But why would he want to do that if he gets trolled a lot? And then after this, DSP kind of like guilts him again about how he has nobody in this chat that care about him. Even though later on in the interview he brings up that people like him and this and that, but he just tells him that his mods troll him. A lot of his viewers don't care for him and all this stuff. And it's like, you have a guest on your show. You think it's right to kind of like tell that person that his viewers may not be genuine. Like, sure, he has a lot of trolls in his chat or whatever, but you could say the same thing about DSP. You think that he's gonna vibe with that? No, he's gonna say, yeah. He will just at most say, yeah, there are trolls and larpers, but there's a lot of people that like enjoy my content. So why can't he extend the same courtesy to Wings? Oh no, well, everyone in Wings' community is just shitting on him. He brings up that like Wings reacting to people telling him that like they think that Cat divorced him or whatever, and then or about the boxing thing, and Wings just responded to a question. He's like, "Well, yeah, I'm not saying that this is your entire stream, but you responded to that, and now that's what everyone's gonna clip with." But like, he says that happens to him. So if it happens to DSP, then why is he asking Wings about the same thing? Because it's very clear that he doesn't see it equivalent. He sees it. He sees there's a difference between when people clip him versus when people clip Wings. But that doesn't make any sense. People in DSP's community will naturally just think that, oh, Cat left him just as much as Wings' community, or that when Wings brings it up, the DSP community or whatever may bring that up because it's relevant to them. Like, it's in a way he's trying to get Wings to be a little bit more uh uh thoughtful, to the point that he would not respond to it, so that there'd be less clips of other people either validating what trolls have been saying, so people can't say, well, see, Wings also agrees with us, even Wings thinks this, or oh, even which is kind of like a very uh weak-minded, I guess, mindset to have, right? And that's kind of, I feel, the intent of DSP trying to hammer onto Wings about that he should be careful what he responds to when it's about other people. But you again could say it to DSP as well. And of course he's gonna hit you with the, well, I say, I guess, I think, I don't know. But you are still giving attention to it. I mean, it's splitting hairs at that point about responding to other lolcows, detractor memes, or whatever. Like, just understand that that's kind of the nature. I mean, everyone who streams gets clipped out of context, and it's up to the viewer to decide what they make of it. And sure, it may be harmful to the streamer if the clip is showing something that looks bad, but let's say there is something in that clip that explains what's going on, and it's not what people think it is. But do you think the people who watched the clip and decided that confirms it, that they're gonna either care about the follow up to it? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe in certain specific situations that may work out, but a lot of the times when people have made up their mind and they have other reasons to discredit the follow up, it won't matter. It will matter for people who are either fans or whatever, or that they give people the benefit of the doubt when they explain it. That's who that will matter to. But that's just the nature of the internet. So it's not worth like splitting hairs about people who have already made up their minds. To a degree. I mean, again, there's all these other factors that play when it comes to this stuff that happens on the internet. Like, that's just how it is. It's unfair and it's shitty in some cases, but it's not worth in an interview to just talk about this to a dude who has no control over what other people do to clip him. So should Wings now just refrain from talking about DSP? What if he wants to? So now if he wants to talk about DSP, he has to think about, well, I may get clipped for this. Like, there is some, like, thought that has to go into this, sure. But I mean, how much can you really control, right? Uh, so he does that for a while. He then explains that, well, maybe instead of doing Call of Duty or Battlefield, you should do like chill streams, like interact more. But what if that's not that? What if that's content that Wings doesn't want to do? What if Wings wants to just play Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever? Why does he have to do chill content? Because, like, sure, DSP's not telling me he has to or that he should, but it's very clear that he brings it up just so that he can give Wings the idea that, hey, maybe do this instead of raging, dude. Like, I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of what kind of content he does. He then brings up Lolcow Live, and this is another aspect that you could tell that DSP had a preconceived idea that he wanted to kind of address with Wings. He wanted to really feel vindicated that Wings uh regrets doing Lolcow Live and this and that, right? So he asks him, so now that you're out of the Depression era, which I have to say, for a dude who claims to have depression, uh, what's a Depression era? I didn't know that depression is just an era that happens and it goes away and then you're out of it. Like that's not what depression is. Like it's kind of like again, it's another example of DSP showcasing to the world that he doesn't know what the fuck depression is. What the fuck is a depression era? Is it a WWE era? Like is that what's going on when people are having depression is just a little section of their life? Like that's not really what it is. But anyways, he brings that up and he says like, well, I just want to understand your headspace, Wings. Like, are you done with Lolcow Live? And Wings, of course, tells him that no, like I would still think I'm still thinking about doing Lolcow Live. Like it's like he would never say never. Like he wouldn't say no, right? And you could tell the moment Wing said that, DSP was disappointed because he did the whole like head shake and everything. Like you could tell he was hoping for Wing to say, "Yeah, I'm done with All Cow Live. I'm never going back." And then DSP would be like, "Yeah, Wings. Yeah, you tell him. Yeah, man." But instead, he got greeted with, "No, man, I'd still do it because." Again, to Wings and Boogie and to even Keem, Lolcow Live is just simply a show. It's just a show that they do for fun, for the lulz, whatever. They don't think it's uh that big. But after Wings explains that, like, I'll still do whatever, right? DSP explains to him like, well, if I did Lolcow Live, uh, I would know I would feel embarrassed. I wouldn't be able to return to my stream anymore. And this is kind of stuff that's kind of fucked up because he's telling someone who left Lolcow Live that still thinking about it, and he's kind of like uh shaming him in a way because he's kind of saying like, yeah, man, I would never do that, man. It's like the worst thing you could do, right? Like you're telling someone who left it that like is kind of thinking about going back, and you're kind of like making him feel worse for doing it or whatever. Like it's just him trying to guilt Wings into not doing Lolcow Live, which it kind of makes Wings look so bad that he just sat there and took it. Like he didn't say, DSP, I don't think that's fair that you're kind of just saying this stuff about this. Like, I don't care though. Well, what DSP was saying in his perspective because, like, if he didn't feel because it was not relevant. It was just not relevant into the conversation. DSP asked Wings, would he go back to Lolcow Live, and Wings said that he's thinking about it. Like he wouldn't say no to it. That's where it should have ended. And instead, DSP just felt the nerve, the need to then say, "Well, I wouldn't do that because, like, I'd be embarrassed to show my face." Meanwhile, you just remember that DSP showed us his underwear and danced for PPP and did push-ups for PPP and did an interview that he said was a bad content. He did bad content with Kino Casino knowingly. So he did do a lot what Wings did on Lolcow Live if you really want to compare the two. So he did do that. But here's the difference, right? He did all of that and he was able to get $150 every stream for the most part since then, and was able to get 2 PCs and this and that. But what did Wings get out of leaving Lolcow Live? See, this is the fallacy that DSP put himself in, right? Because if DSP was in Lolcow Live and he left it and all he had was the money he got from Keem, like, would that still be that bad? I mean, again, DSP bragged about robbing the casino, but what did he get from the casino? Like, Wings got money from Lolcow Live, and you could say the actions he did during Lolcow Live is embarrassing or whatever, but again, that was under the guise of the show, and if Wings was not embarrassed by it, then whatever. But DSP did all this stuff, and then he has the gall to say that, well, Wings should be embarrassed for doing Lolcow Live. If I did Lolcow Live, I'd be embarrassed. What would be embarrassing? What would DSP be embarrassed about? Because what would they have made him do, right? Because they made the Wings bathe in like what, chili or Pepsi. I don't remember. It was something like that. And like, okay, but that was because that's a detractor meme of him. Like, okay. Uh Boogie, they just had Boogie do whatever because it's Boogie. I mean, he lied about having cancer. They had him like tattoo something on his face, like I don't like not damage, that's something else. But he tattooed something on his face, like a liar or whatever, but he tattooed it like where facial hair grows, so whatever, you can always get rid of it. Uh so what would have Keem have done to DSP? Probably talk to either maybe wrestlers, talk about WWE champions, talk about mobile games. I don't know. Like, what would he like? The most I could see happen would be Keemstar would just have him talk to Duty. Like that's it. That's that. Like that's like the minimum I could see. Where Keem would start with DSP, and then maybe have him travel or whatever. But to say that he'd be embarrassed is ridiculous when this dude has showed us his underwear, let alone he talked about it. Like, even, sure, you could argue, well, he only showed the band. He didn't take his pants down or anything, but I mean, come on, man. But he even showed, like, I think I want to say he showed us the pack, but regardless, he showed the refrigerator. Like, he did all this stuff for Kino Casino, so he's really in no position to claim that, oh, I would never do Lolcow Live because it would be so embarrassing if I did my streams after that. I think I would have ruined my streams by doing that. My guy, you showed your audience your fucking underwear and allowed another dude to go on your stream and made fun of you. And made fun of your wife numerous times until the chat had to beg him to step up for his wife. Like, the embarrassment's already there. It's just that he just found people willing to give him money. You could say the same thing about the people who support Wings. Wings did Lolcow Live, did this, did that, and people still found ways to support him. Like, you could make the same claim about Wings and about DSP. So DSP just trying to like have a superiority over Wings and guilt trip him over Lolcow Live is completely laughable and kind of like bullshit coming from him. And it's negative. It's negative not in a way that's like, oh, see, DSP's mean. It's negative in the sense that he is doing this thinking that it's helping Wings, when in reality, one could argue that this would just make him feel worse about himself, about his self-confidence, because he's kind of in a way making a dig that what Wings did is embarrassing, that it ruined his content. Did it ruin his content? Would Wings fans consider his content ruined? I don't know. He then goes on from there to then talk about uh uh his eating habits. And this is just ridiculous because I knew he was gonna do it. He waited till the very end, the part of the interview where Diesel would be okay with hanging up. Notice that. Notice he didn't talk about this early on. He saved it to the end to talk about his diet. So not only, I mean, technically you could say that he did it at the end, so that if Wings does something, he could just end the call. But you could also argue that he, in his mind, because again, remember, DSP thinks it's an own or that people watch Wings because he's fat and he eats fast food and all this stuff. You know, things that kids would think of when they see a fat kid. Like, oh, yeah, let's make fun of the fat kid because he's fat. That's DSP's mindset. So of course he's gonna say, well, if you're gonna want to see me tear into this, I'm gonna wait until to talk about his weight at the end. So these people are who he perceives are just waiting for him to make fat jokes are gonna sit there until the end of the show for him to be like, okay, Wings, let's talk about your fast food. Like that's how he thought about it. So it's a double whammy right there. But he asks him about, so how much food do you eat, right? How often do you order DoorDash? And then he tells him like, well, you can't do stuff cold turkey. Are you doing any drugs? You can't do this. You have to do that. Like he was trying to be like Wings' doctor. Like DSP was like, Okay, Wings, welcome to the office. I see that you're this weight, and I'm gonna prescribe you a nice healthy diet. But remember, do not do this and not like. Who the fuck are you, dude? Like, what's your dietitian? He does DoorDash just like anyone else. He eats bagels. He drinks coffee. Uh, he drinks every week. He does fast food every week. Like, anyone can argue that these are also unhealthy. It's just not as much as like Wings apparently does, right? But again, it's a different lifestyle, and he doesn't know how Wings lives his life. Like, Wings said that he has cows. DSP didn't know that. He didn't know he had cows. So, you know, to him, again, the he's getting all this information. DSP is getting all this information about Wings' eating habits and all this from detractor channels of Wings. Now, of course, you could argue, well, he did say in the interview that he does DoorDash 90%, but if he has cows, you could kind of argue that maybe he's a little busy tending to the cows, tending to like his farm or whatever he has. Like, he doesn't know what he does off stream. He streams 4 hours a day. So he has 20 hours to himself. What does DSP think he does in 20 hours? He thinks that, oh, he eats and sleeps. Like, it's this naivety that he thinks that all Wings does is eat and sleep because that's what he portrays on camera. That's what he shows, and that's what gets clipped. But he doesn't know, what about the stuff that isn't clipped in the 20 hours. Remember, there's 24 hours in a day, Phil. Like, it's kind of ridiculous for him to just kind of go down on his diet like this. And this is behavior, by the way, that DSP would shit on. People were concerned trolling him about eating fast food once a week, and he got pissed off and saying, "How dare you tell me what I'm eating? I know what I'm doing, you idiot." But he brought someone else in to his little content and started talking to him about diet tricks and diet stuff and how to diet, how to eat, how to work out, as if nobody ever told Wings this before. Yeah, I'm sure when Wings goes to his doctor never tells him that. But of course, these are probably operating under the stupid idea that doctors can't just tell you that you're fat these days. But they can tell you if it's like risking their life, like whatever, right? And to even go back a little bit further, because they did talk about the wives. They talk about their wives, and it's really funny to me that uh you could like a lot of people have argued that Wings is abusive to his wife and this and that, but it has seemed to me that Wings has at least put more effort into uh I don't necessarily know how he described about his wife in this. To be completely honest, I'm like trying to piecemeal what I remember, because I just remember like he talked about like how she she gained weight because of the cancer thing that she survived from, and she didn't want to be on stream because she just didn't want to deal with that. Like, whatever. That's like a straightforward like reason. DSP then talks about Kat and is like, well, you see, like she didn't like the trolling, but if you go back during the Dodoku streams, during the IRL streams, you know immediately, pretty quickly even, that DSP said that his chat was positive. It was positive. The only time I've ever seen DSP address people that was addressing Kat negatively was during the suggestion box, and guess what they were telling him about Kat? That he should talk to Kat more. So the negative perspective that Kat had was that DSP wasn't talking to her enough. And he brings up that like Kat was locked down and she didn't want to respond to chat. This person, what I wanted to say. This fucking Kat didn't have any intention of responding to chat. Never, not at all. She didn't read a single thing. the only person that was reading chat was DSP because Kat didn't have any interest, and he's like, she read in chat that someone called her a doo-doo-head, and that shut her down. Like, she has recited her own insults at the time. Like in 2017, 2018, Kat said, "Yeah, I know they think I'm a horse. Fucking stupid, right?" And then if you go to the Halloween stream that year, if you really want to go to that stream, arguably the thing that was so bad at the time, because this was brand new lore that was dumped about Kat, about she was cheating on Subaru Man. Uh, there were a lot of documents that were like spread more about, because it was also during October, right? About her childhood and all this other stuff. So okay, sure, when the chat's like doing all this stuff that's bringing up that, fine. I could even say fair enough, even though he told us in the, like, before that, even that stream, she was gonna leave anyway. But anyways, uh sure, okay, that chat was bad. But what's his excuse about these streams he's had with her in 2024? All of the interactions that they've had were all positive. Is he gonna say that the makeup questions were insidious? I mean, sure, maybe you could argue, because like, people have always made fun of Kat's makeup. Everyone has been making fun of her makeup her makeup game, if you will. But they were just asking what makeup is she wearing? Does she have any tips? And she could have just said, "Well, I do this or whatever." And if someone says, "Lol, wow, she is dumb." Okay, so what? But uh he never brought that up. He kept highlighting the suggestion box was the problem that told him to just talk to her. Nowhere in the suggestion box did they say anything negative to Kat. Again, he wants to hide behind all these trolls because, of course, they were making fun of her weight, but they were doing that anyway. Like, so who cares, right? But whatever. It is what it is. But then they talk about them driving, and in a way, DSP kind of highlights the fact that, so if the gas is low in the car, DSP keeps an eye on the gas, and then Kat would have to tell him if the gas is low. So DSP doesn't trust Kat enough to drive the car to the gas station to fill it up. Because the thing that's funny is that they brought up the tire story. And the tire story, like Wings was saying, like, the reason why he doesn't believe that, like, that the tire was stolen was just how the image looked. People were like looking at the image like, "Oh, she was in this specific spot. There's no way that someone would steal it. Why would they steal only one tire? Whatever." I mean, I would honestly argue that, like, maybe they go for one tire because it's faster than taking all four tires. Like, I don't think they want to take everything they get is piecemeal tires, because it's not like tires are super rare, and I don't think that they have like a super rare brand tire either. So it's like, I whatever. But he was insinuating that maybe Kat like damaged the tire, and she lied to him and say that it was stolen so that he wouldn't get mad. Which, I mean, I don't know if Kat's that good at lying. I'm just saying, I don't think she's a master of lying. Uh but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It was just weird to bring that up, and then it led to like DSP saying like, "Well, when it's her day off, she wants me to drive," which is really funny. I mean, we have photo evidence that DSP drives on their day off. I don't think DSP trusts Kat with the wheel, unless like she needs to drive it. Like, he thinks that if Kat drives on Black Friday, she's gonna like create chaos on the road. That all these people are gonna crash into her, and she's gonna not know what the fuck to do. Which is why he has to pick her up and drive her and drop her off or whatever, because he can't possibly trust her to drive herself to work and drive home safely. Let alone she does not trust her to do DoorDash. It's really, really weird. But that's that. Uh, so yeah, like, he talks about all this stuff. He guilt trips Wings like numerous times about his eating habits, his streams. He brings up that people in his chat are not genuine to him, that they're all fake fans, or that or this that. Meanwhile, he also does say that there are people that like him. Like, it's all over the place because it's at the end of the day, all this was just DSP trying his best to feel superior to Wings and act as if he's doing him a favor. And it would not surprise me if, let's say, in the future, Wings sees massive success again. He's losing weight, and then I could definitely see DSP attribute that to his little interview. Yeah, I told Wings about this, and look at him now, man. Because this dude is so narcissistic. He will take any W he could find. And again, this was not an interesting interview. He allowed Wings to ask him some questions, and the questions were fucking boring. He asked him about WWE stuff. He then talked about WWE champions, and yet again, DSP never addresses the amount of money he's actually spent versus the amount of money Trolls said he spent. So he says that there's a lot of other ways to get where he is in the game. So it's not that he spends like 100K in WWE champions. Oh, fine. However, I'm willing to bet he doesn't spend $0. Go to the WWE champion streams that he did, and he was dropping hundreds pretty quickly. So he did WWE champions, and you're telling me that he spent less than $1 in WWE champions? Yeah, fucking right. Like, he spent an amount. Why doesn't he tell us the amount? If he sold the account already, and all this, why not tell us the amount of money he spent? But again, I would even argue it's just the timing of all the stuff that's happening is the bigger story. Like I said in the last video, the problem with the wedding wasn't that he got married or whatever. It was around the time he was talking a lot about the back taxes, and then for him to go away for a week, get married, come back, and then say, "Oh, by the way, my mom paid for that trip." Like, it's just odd timing. Like, sure, he could be telling the truth, but he muddied the water of spending all this time, 7 years, saying, "I never played WWE champions. I'm single. I don't have a girlfriend." Guys, I actually had a girlfriend. I was dating her throughout the entire time I was saying I was single. Like, he has lied more than once. So, of course, people are not going to believe these things. But he never understands the context or how things looks when you step back and you look at the events. These are the super duper coincidences. And sure, that may happen, but again, you have a person who is a notorious liar. Like, come on. And Wings, of course, does not have the backbone or the knowledge to really push on these subjects as much, because Wings doesn't care. He doesn't watch DSP's content in that meaningful amount of time, and that's fine. Nobody is expected to do that unless they want to have an actual, honest, thorough interview with DSP, which is why you could tell during the side scrollers that DSP was sweating bullets, because they were asking him questions he knew he couldn't answer, and he gave them lies. And then when he had Craig on his show, he didn't even want to apologize. Let alone, you could argue, Craig did apologize. He gave him a DSP tier apology, but he did apologize. But this is the same apology DSP will give. And even then, I do think, or at least vaguely remember, DSP gave such a half-assed apology. "Okay, Craig, sure, okay, yeah, I'm sorry I lied to you, though it wasn't an answer. Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but why didn't you apologize?" Like, it's just kind of like nonsense with him. And it's just not meaningful. It was just bullshit. He didn't care. He wanted Craig up there to apologize. I've seen some people think that he was gonna ask Wings to apologize. There was nothing for Wings to apologize for, because there's nothing. There was no grudge for DSP to had. Maybe in like 2018, 2019, around that time when DSP was very dedicated into calling Wings a liar, maybe then he would want an apology, but he wouldn't want an apology now, because he has written everything off as Keem told Wings to do this. That's why he didn't want an apology. There was nothing for Wings to apologize for because he has written everything off as it's not Wings' fault, guys. Keem made him do it, and his trolls made him do it. See, Wings is just an oaf. He's so stupid because he's fat. Like that's the logic DSP had. Go back and watch the whole thing. Like WPIG showed this. He went back to that stream that was a Chill with Phil stream where DSP was talking about the Internet Fat Camp, where Wings pushes Kelly on like off of him and she landed on the table, whatever. And DSP described as, well, Wings just he's fat and he had a Humpty Dumpty moment and he lost control. So it's very clear he does not see any real response that he doesn't see that fat people have responsibility for their own actions, which is very childish because who thinks like this? Well, you see, Wings worked with Keem, and Keem told Wings to pester me to be on Lolcow Live. Yeah, Wings said he could beat me up because the trolls told him to say that. No, the trolls asked him that, and he answered. He knowingly answered the question. Like, you can't write off this, but DSP will be willing to give Wings that benefit because he sees Wings as a pathetic person. He sees him as someone that's inferior to him, which is why he wanted him on. He knew he could mold him. He thought he could do that with Rich because he has no respect for Rich. He knew he could mold him and do whatever the fuck with him because Rich is a bitch. But then when Rich started to push back, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't control Rich, so he dropped the call. He couldn't control Craig, he dropped the call. These other people like Tolo, and he didn't have any like vendetta against them, but he couldn't necessarily rage quit the call, so he just kind of had to eat it. But when it was people that he either saw was wrong or people that he could mold, he goes on with this. So he knew he could kind of push Wings a little bit because he doesn't respect Wings. He doesn't respect Wings as an equal, even though he likes to pretend he does. He doesn't. He fucking doesn't. Because if he did respect Wings, he would not be second guessing how Wings reacts to his chat. He wouldn't be highlighting the fact that he sees Lolcow Live as a bad thing or whatever to him. He wouldn't be guilt tripping him as much as he did. And the way he talked about him, like losing weight, is the most condescending, patronizing thing I've ever heard. You telling me that nobody ever in Wings' life told him what DSP told him? Really? Come on. So, it's all bullshit. It's all for DSP to fucking jerk himself off and say, look at the positive content I did, guys. Everyone thought that I was gonna be negative, but look at me, not being negative. I'm Mr. Positive. That's all this was. It was just him to brag that he's Mr. Positive. It's all fake. It's such a fake interview. And I think to some degree, maybe Wings knew that too, and he just didn't care. So maybe people can't blame Wings, but at the same time, it just made for a very lackluster interview. That was just another instance to inflate his ego. And again, this is and at the end, near the end of the Lolcow segment, DSP did ask Wings, did you want to do this show because Keem told you? And he said yes. He's like, I knew it, man. So there was an added incentive for DSP to also not be super duper negative because he knew that he perceived in his little back of his pig brain, well, Keem might be watching. So if I grill Wings, I do this, that's what he wants. So I'm gonna work super hard to be super duper fake and two-faced throughout this interview so I can say what I want to say, but in a nice way so that they can't get content. That's all this was. It's so spiteful and dishonest. For a guy who says he's so honest and real and all this other stuff, this was completely fake. And again, this is the dude that has considered saying, I am not fake because if I was fake, I wouldn't be critical of these games. You notice that these other people, when they talk about this, they're super positive because they're being fake to you. he has countlessly shown us that in order for him to deem something as being honest, you have to be critical and negative. But if you're super positive and this and that, you're being fake. And he has done this multiple times, even in his own content. He shilled OP seeds, spawn seeds, when he knew these were fucking shilled chairs. These were garbage chairs. He knew they were garbage, but he pushed them anyway. Uh, the Side Scrolls interview, he said it was fair and he defended the interview. The second Side Scrollers was being critical, guess what DSP told them? I defended you in front of my audience and you did this to me? Because he didn't care. He didn't care. He wanted to defend it so that he can throw it back at them. And this is another instance. So if Wings decides to exercise his freedom of speech and say, I think DSP's a piece of shit, guess what DSP's gonna say? I can't believe Wings said that about me. I was so nice to him. I had him on my stream and I was helping him and I thought he was cool. So this whole thing isn't for Wings' benefit, it's for DSP. Because not only can he use this stream to weaponize it against Wings if Wings ever spoke up against him, he can also brag about how positive the stream was and how helpful it was, unlike these other YouTubers that require drama content. And I've said this in the last video. I think what he should have done with Wings was just do what people wanted to do years ago and play Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever the fuck with Wings. This is what people wanted him to do. And instead, he does this vanity project of him just doing this interview that's just, guys, look how cool I am. I'm so cool. I'm doing this. I'm helping the needy. This is like what he hates about when people at E3 announce these incentives to donate to charity or these philanthropic incentives. He has shit on that for being, this is not charity, guys. But that's what this is. He's acting as if this is charity because he sees Wings as a lesser person, a lesser streamer that needs his clout, that needs help. And he's gonna use this against Kino Casino, against Drama Alert, against the trolls, against other YouTubers that he thinks make negative content. When he goes on these rants about how Twitch has bad streamers and this and that, he's gonna use this to brag how positive he is. It is so laughable. So that is it. That is my opinion on this interview. I don't think it was that genuine, and I do think it was self-serving for DSP to yet again brag about how cool he is and how helpful he is and positive and meaningful his content is, when this interview, it was not even interesting. And I'm not saying that DSP necessarily needed to shit on Wings or that Wings needed to shit on DSP, but there was nothing that was interesting. We didn't learn anything. Like, he talked about how old school YouTube and machinima, people know this already. Who cares? Even then, like, this isn't even interesting stuff because people have already talked about old YouTube and machinima and all this stuff for years. Every time that there's a new YouTube rollout, oh, we're gonna change the monetization system. Guess what? People are gonna talk about how good it was back then anyway. This has been old news that nobody cares about. And instead of trying to find topics that were interesting, it was just stuff that either people already knew about, people didn't care about, or it was stuff that was just DSP's vision of what he perceives things, like Lolcow Live and other bullshit. He didn't talk about anything interesting. Why not ask Wings about the current, what are his thoughts on does he care about esports in Call of Duty? He plays Call of Duty, like, what does he think about how these games are played or whatever? Like, he didn't even do that. And again, like, people may say that it's boring to listen to them talk about games, but in reality, these are game streamers. But again, they are also lolcows, so it doesn't matter. they're not getting a genuine audience. So it is a wasted effort. But in DSP's little head, he wants to prove to the world that he can be taken seriously. If that's the case, if he can be taken super seriously, then why not take the time and make an interview series about something that is interesting to Wings? Again, I used to like these videos that Frank used to do, Frank Howley. He used to do like what was it called, like game club, I don't remember, but it was like backyard games or whatever. He would go to other people's houses and go through their game collections, and they would talk about the game collections they had. He then did this thing called, I think he called it At the Computer, where they would pick a game that either him or I think the coach was Bruce would pick a game, and they would show the game and talk about it, and they would both like kind of like learn about the game. Like those were interesting videos to me, and I kind of wish he did more of those, but it is what it is. But what does DSP do? None of that. Nothing that's interesting, because he's not interesting. The fact that DSP did Smart Guys and Wings was like bodying him with wrestling facts is embarrassing, because people already knew this. People knew DSP was a fake fan. He only is a real fan of WWE only in the things he watched and cared about. Anything before, anything after, he doesn't care. He only cares about stuff that he cares about. So any other thing you bring up that's wrestling related that he has no idea about, he could care less. Fuck that. So that's the interview. It's just nonsense. Uh that's all I have to say about it. I don't know if I want to do a full react to it, because it's a very dull interview that has nothing interesting at all, as I said multiple times. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.